Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Blessing and today we're going to be talking about ADHD, history taken in ADHD. So, in preparation for the CASC exam, you get a scenario where they tell you that, you know, they give you like a 5-year-old patient kind of. So they come into clinic with their mom, and so it is in the scenario, but you don't actually see the 5-year-old. So the mom comes into the clinic, and they've got some concerns to discuss with you, and it's usually like a referral from their local GP. So you come in. First thing is you want to confirm the identity of the mom. Okay, so you say something like, "Hi, is it Mrs. Davis?" And then they tell you, "Yes, it is Mrs. Davis." And are you Pete's mom? For instance, let's say the 5-year-old boy is Pete. Okay, so are you Pete's mom? So she confirms her identity and she confirms that of her son. Okay, thank you for coming to the clinic today. I understand that your local GP has referred Pete to our service because you had some concerns about his behavior. Could you tell me more about this, please? Okay, so you do like a summary. You say like you had some concerns about his behavior, or you were having some difficulties managing his behavior. Okay, then she tells you what she's been having difficulties with. So she might start from school. She might say that his teachers have noticed that he's always on the go. He doesn't sit down. He fidgets. He doesn't wait his turn, stuff like that. And then you kind of reflect that back. So I hear you, and you give her a lot of empathy. So you say, "I'm really sorry that you've been having a difficult time managing Pete's behavior." And then you say something like you try to elicit whether the behaviors they are happening at home as well. So you ask her, "Have you noticed this behaviors at home as well?" So you're trying to establish, show the examiner that you're trying to establish that the behaviors happen in two different settings. So what are the behaviors? Okay, so you can look at W waiting his turn. It doesn't wait his turn. So you can ask you if she doesn't tell you. And how do you think Pete would behave if he was in a queue? Would he wait his turn? Right? So you can look at organizational problems. You don't ask if your 5-year-old is organized. You ask if they've been misplacing their things. And then you ask about restlessness. Does it seem to be always on the go? If she's told you that, you can reflect that back to her. And does it find it difficult to sit in this, does it find it difficult to remain in a seat sometimes? And then, so that's the restlessness part of it. And then you go to the T. So you go to the T, and what's in the T? That would be talking excessively. So persons that have got ADHD, they talk excessively. So you do your WORT what, and then so that would be the features of hyperactivity, which is one of the core features of ADHD. Then you go to the inattention, and for the inattention, you're looking at whether it's distractible, whether we're talking about misplacing things. Sorry, so misplacing things is part of the inattention. Um, could be part of the hyperactivity as well, but it's more about the inattention. So then you go to so you talk about misplacing things, you talk about being distractible, you talk about starting tasks and not finishing them. So that would be the inattention. Okay. So you don't have to divide these things into hyperactivity, inattention, and impulsivity in exam. You just ask all of the features in one go. So you can make it WORST. So you can put it problems waiting his turn if he was in a queue. You can put the organization, which would be misplacing or losing things. You can put the restlessness, not being able to remain in a seat or always being on the go. And you can put the starting tasks and not finishing them, should be the S. You can put the T, the talking excessively. So once that is done, if you like, you can ask for fidgeting. If you like, you can skip it. So part of the impulsivity, she might give you something like he answers questions. He answers the teacher before they finish their questions, or he answers your questions before you finish asking them as a parent. So you can add that. That's part of being impulsive. It before you finish asking your questions, he is answering them. And she might give you a really big risk, like saying something like is dashing onto the roads, or is bumping into other children in class, something risky. So she might give you the impulsivity. So now that you've done the core features of ADHD, now you need to rule out other things, other comorbidities. So you're thinking about autism, um you're thinking about learning disability, you're thinking about conduct disorder, you're thinking about psychosis. So how would you rule out autism? So you might ask, how is his speech? Does he have any language problems? So how is his speech is an open question. Does he have any language problems would be more of a closed question, yes or no. And you can ask, does he make eye contact? Does he reciprocate your warmth when you're trying to show him warmth and trying to show him love? Does he play with other children? So that would be the social interaction. Then you go to learning disability. You're trying to find out how his intelligence is. So you ask about his performance in school. How is his performance in school? And then you go to so we talked about autism. So you go to conduct disorder. So you ask any damage to property. Is he aggressive to other children? Is he cruel to animals? Does he disobey your instructions? Something like that, or your rules. So 2 questions are okay for conduct disorder. You're just trying to show the examiner that you're thinking of different differential diagnosis. And then you go to psychosis. So you ask if she's noticed any unusual behaviors, like whether he's hearing voices or trying to, talk to himself when no one is around, if he's seeing things that no one else has seen, stuff like that. So again, you've tried to rule out comorbidities. Then do not forget your history, family history. Does anyone else in the family have similar history? As a seen a psychiatrist before. So once you ask these questions, the session goes smoothly. And that is it for ADHD history taking. So I'm going to make a different video for ADHD management station. Okay, see ya. Please, if you're seeing this on YouTube, give my video a thumbs up to encourage me to make more videos like this. Thank you.